Scorn. Is it spooky? Yep. Is it gross? Yep. Is it good? Well, before we begin, leave a comment down below if you've played Scorn. Now, before I get into my thoughts on whether or not I think Christians should play this game, I want to talk about the game's design, so stick around to the end of the video for that. I should also address what Scorn is and isn't. Scorn is a puzzle survival horror game by Ebb Software, not an FPS game like Doom. Scorn is not about demons or the supernatural, it's about aliens and sci-fi and being really grossed out. It's important to make these distinctions because I think some people, myself included, got the wrong idea from looking at this game's trailers. Personally, I was surprised and frustrated by the amount of puzzles that were in this game. And Scorn isn't exactly scary either, it's just unsettling. With the exception of this one alien creature that I'm thinking of that I'm dreading putting into this video. Yeah, no, this sucks. I hate it. Now, the developers stated that they wanted the player to feel like they were thrown into this alien world and they were totally caught off guard and unsettled and scared. And I have to admit, they did a really good job of that. In Scorn, you wake up on this eerie alien world that you're not really sure what's going on or what's around the next corner. And it's this tension that makes the game genuinely exciting and thrilling to play, at least at the beginning. But as you play through the game and encounter monsters and more puzzles and the different alien architecture, the game kind of loses its luster pretty quick. If you're not frustrated by the puzzles, you're frustrated by the combat, and if you're not frustrated by either one, the game is chugging along pretty well in my opinion. The unfortunate thing is that the game is mostly about the puzzles, and therefore, at least for me, I spent most of my time playing this game frustrated and confused. So much so that it's actually really easy to walk right past a solution to a puzzle multiple times. And the combat is that kind of clunky combat that you play and you're just kind of wondering, why is this even in the game? I feel like the game would have been way better if the combat wasn't even in here at all. But as you delve deeper into this world and you unlock more puzzles and you get past those and you're exploring more, that's when you realize Scorn is not a game for the squeamish, especially in the final act of the game. And as a matter of fact, it's when I finished the game, I actually found myself way more confused than I was when I started the game. There's some interesting lore theories out there on different websites and here on YouTube that seem to suggest that the lore for this game is about aliens and humans trying to find the perfect species or trying to create the perfect being, but it doesn't work out or something like that. I don't know, you'll have to go check them out for yourself. And ever since my video on whether or not Christians can play Dark Souls, I've been asked from time to time, can Christians play this game? Or can Christians play that game? And Scorn was the most recent one. And while I honestly think that's a question that's better suited for your pastor, who will understandably advise you against playing this game, my personal opinion is that not only is this game morbid, but it's also frustrating to play, especially as you try to piece everything together. You see, sex, death, birth, and rebirth are major themes in the game. So much so that that last final area that I referenced earlier has some detailed statues engaging in certain acts that I can only imagine that this is what that song about the body shop and unholy acts is probably talking about. Look, when you boil it down, Scorn is a graphic, disturbing, and frustrating game to play. You see, Kevin Shute in his book of Games and God talks about the difference between narrative violence and exploitative violence, and I feel like Scorn delves way too much into the exploitative side of things to really make it worthy of a recommend or even just entertaining in general. Now, I'll hand it to Ebb Software. The art direction for the game is really good. It's unique. It is alien. They did a good job with it, and the sound design is really good. But it's just playing the game is what's not so good. So overall, Scorn is a mixed bag, one that personally I wouldn't really recommend to anyone, except maybe Gabe from The Office. I have a feeling he would be really into this body horror type of stuff in this game. Now, the horror genre as a whole is pretty taboo in Christian circles, and that's why recently I had a pastor on the podcast to talk about horror and whether or not Christians can engage in it. So I'd actually recommend you go check out that video next here on the channel after you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe consider sharing it as well. But until next time, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, and I'll see you in the next video.
Really, horror is generally a story or a storyline, so this relates to gaming as well, that frightens, thrills, or creates a real sense of dread in the person through conflict with either danger or evil. People argue about like whether it has to be supernatural or not. But you've got all kinds of subgenres within horror, right? Survival horror, slasher movies, satanic horror, monster movies, alien movies, zombie movies, ghost movies, right? There's all kinds of horror movies, and they're not always, and they are frequently not bloody and gory. Sometimes they are, sometimes disgust is an element in horror, but not always.